Okay, so in this video, I want to talk about what it means to be a sovereign being, because this is something that is something that I hold as very central to my journey as a soul. And as souls, our journey is always about expansion, growth, and we expand and grow through awareness. That's how we expand, and that's how we grow. And we grow through obviously challenges and lessons, but through those challenges and lessons we create awareness. We become more conscious of the self, and as we do that we expand and we grow. So to be a sovereign being, I was asking myself the other day, because it's something that I hold dear, and I'm like, my what I hold in my awareness is that I am a sovereign being, and I continue to take steps to ensure that I align with being a sovereign being, and I draw that in more and more to my reality. So I asked myself the question, well, what does it actually mean to be a sovereign being? Aside from the physical steps that I take in that respect, well, to be a sovereign being, it really means to take responsibility for the self and to become aware of the self as a multi-dimensional being, the self as a God self, as a creator being. And by taking responsibility for the self, when we start to expand our awareness, we start to understand we are multidimensional beings. We start to understand that this point in time that we are living in, the Earth School, that we are both the players in this reality as well as the creators of the reality as well, and that everything that happens in our life is something that we have orchestrated from a higher perspective. So before coming into the incarnation, we already plan experiences, people that we are destined to meet, that are going to help us to experience certain things that we want to experience, so that we can learn a certain lesson. And when we start to become sovereign beings and we start to take responsibility for the self, then we stop placing blame onto another for things that we experience. We start seeing that within that experience we have choices, and often to experience what we experience, we have made certain choices to get to that point. So I'll give you an example of that. So let's say that you have met somebody in a relationship, and through that relationship that person is not really treating you very well. Perhaps they don't communicate well with you. Perhaps they will go basically ghost you for long periods of time, and basically you're not being treated very well. However, you felt a soul connection to this person. It felt like a destined meeting. There's something about them that you are attracted to. You felt very drawn to that person, and you find it very difficult to make that separation. And you go through, let's say, years and years of your life, in and out in this relationship, and it's obvious to you that this person is lying to you about stuff. All the signs are there. If you look back, all the signs are there. However, you choose, because you feel this overwhelming connection, you choose to validate why those things have happened, come up with reasons why, almost play down those flags. And then eventually it comes to the epic moment in this story that you have written for yourself, where boom, something happens major, and you are faced with the fact that this person is lying to you. This person is treating you poorly, and then you feel betrayed. You feel like you feel hurt, you feel upset, you feel betrayed because you put all this energy and effort into this person, and it turns out they're just not who you, in your mind, created them to be. Now, obviously, from a 3D human perspective, you will feel those things, hurt and betrayed, and that's okay. That, you should embrace that you feel like that, because that is the truth. You will feel like that, and that's not bad and that's not wrong. However, we need to bring in the higher sovereign perspective, and we need to realize that we are also responsible for that experience. And actually, the betrayal that we feel from that other person is actually a mirror from the fact that we have betrayed the self. And that's actually what the pain really is about. When you really dig down and you get past the point of projecting it onto the other. I'm not saying the other has no responsibility in the interaction. Of course, both parties do. But the truth is, if you look back, you will have validated that behavior. You'll have continued to turn the other cheek to that behavior, or allow that behavior to continue by continually letting that person back into your life. So really, you are betraying the self. So when you feel that betrayal from another, it's actually you feeling the betrayal of self. So as we become sovereign beings, we can start to take responsibility for every single interaction that we have. Now, I do, from my perspective, I don't include children in that, because children, parents are responsible for children until a certain age. So I do not include children in that. But as adults, we make our choices. We have free will to make choice, and we make choices. And sometimes those choices lead to pain. And we feel that pain. It's very easy for us to then project that pain onto another and to blame another for causing that pain to ourselves. But as you become sovereign, as you realize that you are the orchestrator of your life, and you call to you the experiences that you wish to experience. And sometimes we think, why would I want to experience heartache? Why would I want to experience pain? Well, again, we've got to move to the higher perspective. We've got to go to that multidimensional self and remember, well, we are multidimensional beings and we live forever. So if you live forever, are you not going to want to play? Are you not going to be sat, the way I see it in my mind, you sat up there in the spirit world, or in another dimension, however you want to see this, and you're thinking, I've got forever, infinity, and then infinity again, and infinity again, infinity. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And you have a thought to yourself, I wonder if it's better to have loved and lost, or not have loved at all. And you have that thought, okay? And you think, well, why don't I try it? And because you can have the thought, right? But unless you experience it, you can't integrate the truth. So you then say, okay, well, I'm going to experience that. And imagine how many different thoughts that we have, and thinking, I wonder what that'd feel like. I wonder what it'd be like to experience this, and that. So you're going to come and you're going to experience those things, so that you can experience things that are difficult and see how you expand and grow through those challenges. And you're going to experience things that are pleasurable and lovely, and see how you grow and expand through them as well. So when we become sovereign, we can hold that perspective. We can understand that we are responsible for the self. And also when it comes to responsibility, this word responsibility has been hugely distorted in our reality, because responsibility can often be equated with doing things that just really are not enjoyable and are hard, and and as children we will have felt responsible for a lot of things that really we weren't responsible for. But this 3D reality has created a lot of fear, lack, programs that as children you feel responsible for a lot of stuff you're not. So you create this negative, perhaps a negative feeling, subconscious programs towards responsibility. But the truth is, to be responsible is empowering, because when we are responsible, and only we can be responsible for the self. We can project all we want onto another, but the truth is responsibility means your ability to respond. So only we individually can be responsible, and this is why you will end up disappointed and in pain and suffering if you put your happiness onto somebody else. If you expect somebody else, if you make someone else responsible for your happiness, you are never going to be happy, because it's impossible for somebody else to fulfill that responsibility, because only self can be responsible. But as we realize how empowering it is to be responsible for the self, because it is empowering, when we become responsible, we stop being at the mercy of another and we move into authority of self. Nobody else can take authority over us, can take away feelings of love, feelings of peace, when we take responsibility for that ourselves. So being a sovereign being, I really see one of the main themes that run through sovereignty is responsibility, is realizing that we are responsible for the self, and that in that responsibility it actually moves us to step onto our higher timelines. It moves us away from being enslaved by another, enslaved by other people's judgments, enslaved by other people's opinions, because we start to realize that the only real person's opinion that matters is the one that you have about the self. And if you love the self, if you have compassion for the self, if you take responsibility for the self, good and bad, then you empower the self. So I just want to do that little short video to say, to really just have a conversation about what it means to be sovereign, and to hopefully inspire anybody that's watching this, if you're not already taking responsibility for the self and where you are, to do that. And even if, it can be hard to do that if we're going through an experience that is really tough, and I do understand that when we're going through an experience that is really tough, we don't want to take responsibility for that because it's hard. But like I said earlier in the video, when you take the higher perspective and understand, well, why would I? When you ask that question, why would I want to experience this? Then the answers are going to start to flow. You're going to start to realize, because I'm infinite, and why would I not want to experience all the different richness that is available in creation?